Hello, and welcome to Bytesized Godot, a series covering technical aspects and development tips for the Godot game engine. I'm Bryce Dixon, a professional game programmer with over a decade of game development experience ranging from solo projects to AAA studios. In this episode, I wanted to share a technique that I haven't seen referenced much of using an empty custom resource type as an alternative to an enum. To properly showcase how this technique can be useful, I'll be starting the engine's editor. First off, what is an enum and why would it be useful? Enum is short for enumeration, and they basically act as named integers. By default, they'll start at 0 and count up, but we're allowed to specify their underlying values if we feel doing so would be useful. The inspector will see exported variables of enum types and display them as drop-downs rather than normal integers. As an example, let's say we were making a game where different characters and attacks have different elemental alignments. Here I've created 4 elements, where wind beats earth, fire beats wind, water beats fire, and earth beats water. At this small scale, this works fine, but imagine if we started adding more elements with more than one advantageous matchup. This is quickly growing to a size which is very difficult to manage. What's worse, our entire element system needs to be defined in code, which creates 2 problems. First, if we're working with designers who aren't very familiar with programming, they'll tend to depend on programmers to update the whole system anytime anything needs to be changed. Second, if we're creating a plugin which is going to be reused, anyone wanting to add more elements to the system will need to modify our code, which they might not do correctly. I've found a good solution to both of these problems is to leverage the inherent uniqueness of different resources in our project. Usually, you'd create a custom resource type to store a set of data which can be reused, but you don't have to give them any custom fields. By creating the empty custom resource type element, we have decoupled the list of element types from the rigidity of an enum, which must be entirely defined in one file. This lets us or anyone else easily create more elements and ensures doing so won't break anything by accident. The next problem to solve is type advantages themselves. Instead of defining it in code, I've defined it with more data by creating a dictionary which acts as a globally accessible lookup table by making it an autoload singleton. This lets us drastically simplify our code, as well as improving performance, and it makes it easy to update or expand our system. Speaking of performance, let's hop over to GDScript Live to profile the difference between comparing enums and resources. We can see here that comparing 2 resources does tend to be about 20% slower than comparing enums. However, since we're using our resources purely as unique identifiers, we can leverage their own underlying unique identifiers to compare them much faster. We can see now that by only worrying about a resource's underlying RID, we can gain back that performance that we lost basically for free. It's important to note, however, that getting an RID does actually cost a significant amount, so it only makes sense to do this if you can pre-process all your resources into RIDs before needing to compare any of them, and only if you end up comparing them many times. All that being said, we actually can do even better. The global function isSame will automatically find the fastest way to compare two variants. It's honestly surprising to me, but this ends up being nearly twice as fast as comparing the RIDs or enums directly. On that topic, we can use it to compare enums or RIDs too for a performance improvement, also basically for free. With that, I think it's safe to say that the best options are to use a dictionary when looking for one of many possible resources, or to use isSame if you're checking for a specific individual resource. Thank you for watching. I've left links to relevant documentation in the description for further reading. If you'd like to suggest a topic for a future video, please do so at the list linked in the description.